more recital than dialogue on this page. Is that a fair statement? To give you some statistics, no need to jot them down, but 80% of the questions in pharmaceutical are recital, 20% dialogue. Our goal for this session is not to flip the numbers around. It's not to get to 50-50. Matter of fact, on the bottom of page 7, I'd like you to jot this down. The goal that I'd like you to embrace, one good question every time you see a doc. That's what we're here to take a look at. One good question every time you're here to see a doc. Now, to provide a little more clarity for you, I'd like to share with you a quick story about the idea of dialogue versus recital. And I'll take you back a number of years ago. Right out of the blue one day, a company by the name of American Management Association called me in my office. And they said, "Charlie, we've read a couple articles you've written on questioning skills. Do you think you could write a book on it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." They said, "Good. Here's what you need to know. The book's got to have over 100,000 words. The manuscript has to be on our desk within 9 months." Now, you already know my background is from sales, so my response was, "Yeah, no problem." I had no idea. But I was pretty sure I can get 100,000 words down on a sheet of paper. So every weekend I would go to the township library, sequester myself in a little reading area, and basically 8 to 9 hours a day I would just type and type and type. Long story short, submitted the manuscript on time. I had written the book. I was excited. 2 weeks after my submission, my editor calls. She said, "Charlie, just read your book." I said, "Great, what are your thoughts?" She says, "Well, that's why we're calling." She said, "We really enjoy your seminars. I think you got some great concepts." And I'm a little cynical by nature, and I'm like, "Uh-huh." She said, "We want you to know, actually all of us here on staff want you to know, after reading over 100,000 of your words, it's very clear to us, you have no idea how to write." I was crushed. And I did something I wasn't too proud of right then and there on the phone. I started whining. And I started saying things like, "I don't get it." I said, "Steve Covey wrote a book." I said, "Lee Iacocca wrote a book." I said, "For crying out loud, Pat Riley, who's the president of Miami Heat, the NBA basketball team," I said, "he wrote a book." And my editor came back and said, No, they didn't. They hired ghostwriters. And we suggest you do the same." So I did. And if you ever do get a chance to read my book, I think you'll agree, this guy did a hell of a job. Yeah, very talented writer. But the reason why I share this with you, the fellow who helped me out, his first name was Kurt. When we got to this part of the manuscript, and trust me, this thing was thick, he said, "Charlie, what I do for a living is to help people like you." He said about 80% of the business books and biographies are co-authored. He said, "There's people who know how to write, there's people who have life stories and ideas, and you team up, you get a book." He said, "But there's something I do I didn't tell you about." I said, "Oh, Kurt, well, what's that?" He said, "Well, about 2 to 3 times a year, I will interview one of the top celebrities and do a big article, feature, article in one of the large entertainment magazines." And I said to him, "That must be pretty exciting." He says, "Oh, it is. You get to go to their homes or maybe location." He says, "It's very exciting." He said, "But working with you made me realize something." I said, "Kurt, what are you talking about?" He said, "Well, think of this for a second." He said, "When a celebrity goes to promote a movie or a book or a cause or an album," he asked me, I said, "What do they do?" I said, "I don't know. They go on tour." He says, "Exactly. They go from city to city to city." I'm like, "Yeah, that makes sense." He says, "They're in every city. They're there for a couple days." I'm like, "Of course." They have multiple interviews. I'm like, "Yeah, that makes sense. They want to get the word out, the story out, promote." He said, "Well, think of this. Probably in every city, every day, in every multiple interview, these celebrities keep getting asked same questions." And he sat back. He says, "It just dawned on me. But I bet you these celebrities are getting pretty darn bored, tired. Think of your docs. Not 1 rep, not 5. Maybe as many as 10 a day try to cross their path. Every single day, every single week, every single month, and possibly, ladies and gentlemen, every year they've been in practice. These docs keep hearing the exact same questions. You got to think, folks, they're getting a little bored, tired. I'm going to be honest with you. You know why they say I get 30 seconds sometimes? It's because they can't take it any longer. Same questions, same answers. And docs are bright people. They know. If they tell you what you want to hear, you will leave. And for them, that's a very successful sales call. So what we're here to do is just to enhance your skills. But also I'd like to give you a little perspectives on some things. And I'm going to ask you to turn your attention up to the screen. A friend of mine in the industry gave this to me. I'll read the caption if you can't see it. I tell you, she's driving me nuts. I come home at night, and it's quack, quack, quack. I get up in the morning, and it's quack, quack, quack. Folks, it pains me to make this analogy, but at times, you may walk into that doc's office, and it's quack, quack, quack. So we're going to try to maybe change that, enhance that, help you with the relationships that are in neutral. But I also want you to consider this. Another cartoon, poor little fella. He went to all the trouble to teach himself how to write, but we still haven't the foggiest idea of what he's trying to tell us. This dog is your doc. They're barking, you're quacking, and at times we ain't connecting. So what we're going to do is see if we can help you with that. So with that in mind, folks, I'm going to ask you to turn over to page 8 of the workbook.